It just doesn't show up under a safety grant,
Okay.
because that's like a specific thing for a grant. This falls under, they fall under like the federal aid and STP kind of things with the RTF, and so there is, and I don't have it with me right here, but there is probably eight or 10 intersections
Okay.
that are identified as getting those, and then they should get those in 25 and 26.
Well, the sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned.
So yes, we do have that. It's just, it looks out here. It's just not a grant.
Okay.
It's all.
Well, so then the second part of that question is, are there some other grant monies out there that we ought to be applying for? And the reason I ask this question is, I had a conversation with Charlie Briner in the last week or 10 days after my grandson was involved in a pretty serious accident in Jackson County. And he was telling me that they're applying for like a sizable chunk of safety grant money every year, and yet they know that they won't get more than about $1 million of it approved, but they're applying for $4 or $5 million worth every year. Is this something that we should be more proactive in applying for?
I think we always should be applying for everything we can. I've asked Heather to be looking into a lot of that, and she may even have something on the horizon, but at the point when we were trying to make this budget, we can't guarantee it. So if we couldn't guarantee it, we didn't put it in here.
Okay.
Yes, we should always apply for whatever grants, even if they're small ones. I mean.
Well, and I think, you know, with respect to her, I mean, when did she come back? She came back sometime in April, and she's.
So that planning process.
Well, there's been a whole bunch of things that she's been dealing with that.
I agree.
So, you know, I'm not being critical of her. I'm just saying, you know, as a Hillsdale County Road Agency, we certainly need to be trying to gather all of that money that we can, because we certainly have needs for it.
I agree. But like I said, there is things in here that apply for safety stuff, just maybe not what qualifies as a grant.
All right.
But we are looking, and we will look at everything we can, even as the year goes on.
And then the other thing that I want to bring up, and I know here maybe a meeting ago or whatever, you listed a bunch of roads that we're going to, I think they all may be Class A roads that we're going to put new blacktop on. But I have a very serious concern about Waldron Road, from Prattville Road north to at least North Adams Road. And, you know, I see nothing in the plan to address that issue. That's a major haul route for grain that goes to elevators in Waldron and Prattville. And it has increased substantially in the last 20 or 30 years. And, you know, I hear that, well, we can't just put 2 inches of new blacktop on it. We need to rebuild the road from scratch. And yet, there's nothing in the plan for the next 5 years that I see to do any of that.
Well, we are looking at it. We have done estimates on what it's going to cost. And I think that stretch is going to be in the 12 million range to do that.
Well, I realize we can't do it all at once, but if we don't start tackling a couple of miles a year, we're never going to get there.
But that's where we're trying to apply for different grants, different federal funding for it. We've got to apply for something like that to get a big chunk of it, because when you say do a mile a year, well, that mile a year is going to take every bit of everything else that we're going to do with those other roads. Nothing else will get touched except for that mile. So we got to get some kind of significant funding secured to try to start doing that.
And what if we can't get that significant funding?
We just keep, eventually, you gotta get something. I mean, I don't know, I don't know the plan to that right now, as to how to fix that, and there's several other roads, you know, I mean, there's still a good chunk of Camden Road, there's still a good chunk of a lot of roads that need that, I mean, but the whole Campsie, you know, asset management plan is to keep your good roads good. And so that's where your money should be aimed at, is to keep your good roads in a good condition. Then we've got to rely on the federal highway department to help on some of these others that are just massive projects that no county in the state could afford to do some of these. They've got to keep the good roads good and then fix their bad roads whenever they can as far as the money. I don't know if that helps or makes understand, but it's hard. I don't like it any better than anybody else. But if you try to fix those bad roads and you fix a mile or two of bad roads, then every other road turns bad. And now you got every road bad and 2 miles of one road good. So that's the whole Campsie plan, is to keep your good roads good. And deal with the bad roads. If it's bad, it's gonna stay bad until we get money and then it can be fixed. But
See, I don't think that people realize what has happened with Waldron Road in the last 30 years. I mean, 30 years ago, two things have happened. You've got a lot of guys that used to raise livestock, and they didn't send hardly any grain to town. Those livestock people are gone. All of that ground that used to raise hay and pasture is now growing grain, and it goes to those two elevators in the eastern half of the county. And the second thing that happened in that last 30-year period is that there's some other local grain elevators that have closed that some of that grain used to go to, like Pittsford on M34. That place doesn't buy any local grain anymore. There used to be a grain elevator on the north side of Hudson on 127. That place is there, but they only buy specialty crops like spelts. They get trucked in from hundreds of miles away. And the third thing that has happened is we raise twice the grain per acre today that we did 30 years ago.
We haul twice the truck.
Yeah. And so we have not addressed, you know, as a road commission for years, the additional usage that's on Waldron Road going south. Now, Waldron Road from Prattville Road into the village of Waldron, the road commission did spend some significant money on that road several years ago. That's in good shape. But from Waldron Road north, you know, whether you go to 34, you go to Bacon Road, you go to North Adams Road, it's bad.
I don't disagree with you on that. On fixing it, it's gonna be a struggle to fix that road. I just gotta be honest with you.
The only fix is to polarize it.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't even wedge that.
There is a couple spots that we are gonna go in and try to fix. There's a couple low spots that, just because of being in that low spot, it's a softer ground. We're gonna try to, on specific spots, try to fix a few things. But for right now, that's all we're gonna be able to do until we get some significant money from somewhere to do the whole thing. We can try to fix some bad spots to heal them in, but to be honest with you, all the money we're spending on all the rest of those roads to put the 2-inch cap on them wouldn't do 1 mile of Waldron Road.
Yes, it would.
No, it won't.
What does it cost to do 1 mile of Waldron Road?
To pulverize it and do the new base and stuff, well over $1 million.
That's a big problem with Water Road.
And you got like how many miles?
Oof.
Well, from Prattville Road to M34, which would be a huge improvement, that alone, there's 5 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Waldron Road North Adams.
That would be a significant problem, because that's a swamp.
Well,
But that's what when I say that bigger number, that's the entire,
Yeah.
all the way up to 12.
Right,
Okay, so I came to that local rural funding meeting that was held here a week, 10 days ago. And in that plan in 2029, there's a proposal there to use $1.5 million of federal money to do 0.8 of a mile of Waldron Road from US 12 to Sufton Road. That's where the swamp is. There's no grain trucks use that part of Waldron Road.
But well, I'd have to look into all this, but sometimes that road, even though it's a one road, all solid piece, sections of it might be classed as a different classification for the state. And so it's available for different funding for maybe this section from this road to this road, but from this road to this road, it's not available. There's a lot of things that go into play on that road. Not just that road, but a lot of roads. But
Well, Bob, you
you
made
said
too.
that for a mile road, that was 1.9 million.
For 0.8 of a mile,
Right.
but you're dealing with at least 2 large areas of muck there. Can we even get the DEQ to let us do that?
I doubt it.
I mean,
I don't think we can get around that.
it makes no sense why we would spend $1.5 million there on 0.8 of a mile when we've got roads south of there that sees heavy traffic with grain trucks and tractors and wagons that are following grain south for many, many farmers, and we're not addressing any of
Did
that.
you say that was north to Sufton?
No, from 12 south to Sufton. It's 0.8 of a mile, $1.5 million. I'll bring you a copy of the paperwork and show it to you.
No, nothing there.
Again, I think if that's gonna be from federal funding, that's because it's probably connecting to 12, it's a different classification of a road than the rest is down farther south. Like it or not, that's how the state classes roads.
And they classify them, and most of the time they've never seen them,
Well, that very well could be too, but,
you know.
and they will never change them unless there's just some outstanding thing that, like changing a primary to a local, or a local to primary, just like,
Well, the people that I represent say that this needs to be addressed.
well, there's people, just so you know, okay, there's people in the rest of the county that say their stuff needs to be addressed too.
But this
So-
isn't just the people in Waldron. The whole eastern half of the county, people are hauling grain down Waldron Road and deal with this problem.
I understand.
We've talked about this for 20 years.
Yeah, and so where are we today?
That's what I mean, they're just
We're
no
no
money.
closer to getting a resolution.
Until we get a big something from the federal government, that's the only way I can see Waldron Road getting redone.
Any road getting redone,
Well,
you know, we get,
some roads, if they're in good enough shape, the 2-inch overlay can help, and last for many,
Right.
many years. Waldron Road, because of the lowlands, because of the pitch of the road, all kinds of stuff, the 2-inch overlay is just not gonna, you're just gonna wind up with the same road 2 inches higher. But,
Okay, so now I'm gonna shift my focus to Territorial Road. In 2020, I was not on the road commission at that point in time, but you chip sealed Territorial Road from 127 to M99. In my view, the same thing needs to be done from M99 west of the state line. Territorial Road at one point in time was a state highway.
Mhm.
So it has a base.
I don't disagree with you on territorial getting.
Well, Bob, do you recall, were there plans in 2020 when you did the east stretch? Was there a plan at some point to do that west section?
Mhm.
And, you know, every year that we go without doing it, the road deteriorates more, and so then we're to the point where, well, do we have to put 2 inches of blacktop on it?
Yep.
To keep it?
If you drive Territorial West, it's getting bad.
But to be honest with you, Gary, you've just described almost every major road in the state of Michigan. that's the boat everybody's in right now, and that's why they're, keep the good roads good. We put a little bit of money into the good roads and keep them there. And we're gonna have to hope the legislatures figure out something to fix those bad roads.
The first this week,
So
I
we can
went
keep
to
'em good.
Monroe County. If you think Hillsdale's County's
Oh,
bad,
yeah.
you need to go to Monroe County.
Calhoun County.
We got Cadillac roads compared to Monroe County.
And I don't like them, but, okay.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, there's.
But
potholes beside this table.
every conference I go to, it's the same thing from every county.
I don't
There's-
understand.
They
why the
can't
people
afford to
down there
fix
put up
those good roads.
I don't
or
either.
bad
with
roads.
property taxes that they're paying.
I was on a 55-mile-an-hour road, you couldn't do 20.
Mm-hmm. Tell
It
me
was
about it,
terrible.
I've done a lot of crop insurance down there.
Well, Camden Road, east of Camden, the first 2 or 3 miles is about the same shape.
Mhm.
Yes. I've actually got a company that's gonna come look at that to do a temporary fix on it anyway,
Rutsville.
that'll fill the ruts and then
That would be a
recap
start.
it. And that's, again, that needs to be pulverized, but if we can fill the ruts and then possibly put and they're talking about a cold mix pave again. Fill the ruts with that and then put a cap on top of that they rut filled to help with all the Amish traffic and the horses and buggies, and that's all we can do with that until such time as, again, we can get that $1 million or whatever amount to fix that. And
We did a Rutsville on that about 15 years ago.
that's what I was told. I think it was a cold mix fill for that too.
Yeah.
But there is a company, and at the last conference I went to a week ago, they've got a rut fill thing that is more like what we do for crack seal, and it's just got the little cup that seals the crack. Well, it's a thicker material, it's got more like granular grit to it, and that scrapes and fills the ruts like that. And so it's not,
It's like a
Asphalt.
slurry seal.
yeah, but then it'll harden and then you can put a cap on that. So there's a couple different things that we are looking at for that to see what we can do, but again, it's a temporary fix that, depending on the cost and I don't disagree with anything you said there, Gary, but there's no money for it to do it right now. We gotta depend on the legislature to come up with some kind of plan.
It's been going on for 40 years.
For the whole story, for the whole picture, it's all about money.
Oh, definitely.
And
Always has been, but
until somebody coughs them up,
I wouldn't hold my breath. I mean,
That's the problem. There isn't any, quote, solution in the foreseeable
No.
future.
What happened to fix the damn roads?
It all went into the interstate highway system.
Yeah, they're showing, MDOT's showing a $3.4 billion shortfall next year.
Amazing. Okay, are we ready to vote on the 25 proposed budget? If so, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Permit inspections.
all right, so that's another statewide issue that's going on.
This come out of the CRA.
Yes, and so one of the things I gave you was
It's here
the
somewhere.
CRA suggested they surveyed all the counties that would apply. I think all but 3 responded to this. As to what their permit fees were, what are they charging, why are they charging, and that nobody is charged by the state laws. They could be raised like a certain percent every year. And like the last time I can find, ours was revised here was 2012. So 12 years ago is the last time anything was looked at as far as the price range for the permits. Where we had, $25 for some of the permits, CRA's got 55 across the state, so that everybody's kind of the same. And if we get all these into Oxcart, which is the program where people can go to apply for the permits online, this will put us in line with everybody else in the state. So if a contractor applies for a permit in Monroe County, they can reasonably think it's gonna be about the same thing here or in St. Joe or, you know,
Across
and
the
that's the
state.
whole intent of this for CRA. So what I did was took that fee schedule, took our existing fee schedule and came up with this permit schedule. Some of them are significant improvements or elevations, some of them aren't. Most of the big ones have to do with like the consumer permits, all the utility things in the right of way. We can go through each one of these if you'd like, or if you'd just like to go over them. I sent them out an email back a while ago to everybody. I hope everybody could see them. I put in red just some of the things that stuck out to me, which the commercial drives, that could cause a bonding issue, which on the second page, it shows some of the bonding stuff depending on what applies. The seismographic also requires, well, the destructive type, that's the thumper truck, requires bonding for them too, so that's in red. And then on the back side for the transportation moves, there's 3 of them at the top, the single, super, and annual. I've got a hashtag on there, and if you look down below on the hashtag, those are inside on the CRA thing too. Those fees are set by law. We can't change those. That's what they are. We're locked into those. So again, that's a single move, a super move, which is like large, heavy buildings or heavy equipment, and an annual move. The rest are just kind of, we adjusted some of the things. I took out any of the annual, for whatever reason, there are annual permits for frost laws for this county. I don't understand the reasoning behind that. We need to protect the roads during frost laws, and I think each individual heavy load that's gonna be running on the roads needs to either be permitted or not go at all during frost laws. I did put the note on here during frost law restrictions, bolded, all loads that can be reduced must be reduced, and that's state law. We shouldn't even be permitting anything that can be reduced. That's from the MCL.
How do you know if it can be reduced or not?
If it's a tanker truck, they just don't fill it, it's
Right.
fill. If it's a bulldozer, they take the blade off. There's certain things that they're required to do by state law, and it basically says, if you can reduce it, so unless it's just one big block that you can't reduce, say it's one of the windmill,
Right.
generators. That's just one big block that sits on a trailer. For one, I wouldn't even let that go on the road during frost laws, but 2, that's something that you couldn't reduce. That would have to go, and that's what gets permitted normally, to be overweight on the roads. But if there's an attachment that can easily be, or something to be taken off and hauled separately, then that's what they need to do. And then I also added the line below that that's in red, that you didn't have anything out here before, that if somebody fails to obtain a permit before the movement, work, or the action, that will cause the permit to be assessed and charged to double the normal permit fee. Which that's normal for most places, it just wasn't anything in our.
You do know numbers in red?
It copy black and white.
Oh,
And I
sorry.
I didn't have it to print off.
Okay, it's a different.
Okay, so
Right.
It's a
Ours
little.
is gray.
the note and the failure there was red.
I seen the hashtag too.
And the hashtag is set by law.
I figured it out.
Anything with the asterisk is something that would apply to A, B, C, D, or E there, depending on what it is as to which one it applies as to. And I adjusted some of the bonding also to elevate that a little bit, because I think we had some bonds that, they paid $2,000 for a bond to bond the road. Well, that'll let us fill a pothole.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of these bonds are basically paper bonds, and it'd be a very hard nightmare to get them enacted anyway, but It's more of a legal thing. And then down the bottom, the double asterisk, that's just another comment note saying that other county government agencies, so whether it be the drain commission, the public works or whatever, will do a blanket $55 permit fee and they can do what they need to do. We're not gonna hold them up to, we know how to get a hold of them if they do something with the roads.
Well, I would move that we adopt the new permit inspection fee schedule
Support.
as presented.
Just as a side note, just so you know, this is as revised of 24 October is effective immediately. So the part for CRA, they wanted us to do it as of the 1st of October, effective immediately. I didn't get it all quite worded and everything right. So this would need to be effective immediately of approval of this.
Fine with me.
Oh, you know what? Sorry. This has to have a public meeting.
Oh, public hearing.
So you need to approve this and it's set up to do a public hearing along with the 2025 budget public hearing next board meeting. Let's read up there.
So we need to redo the motion.
Yes.
So would like you to approve it or to send it to next month's meeting as for a public hearing.
Subject to a public hearing.
Yep.
That's all you would need to do, is just reword the motion.
Yep. I'll still keep my support.
Make it subject to
And
a
I'll
public
reword
hearing.
it however you said.
Yeah, to have it for a public hearing.
I'll motion this that one.
And so I would
Almost got us in
just
trouble.
point this out, that we actually, that the whole two public hearings.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And so that the advertisement's out for both public hearings on that day.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
See you at the public hearing.
That'll work. Okay, now, yeah.
That's all I got.
Public
all you
comment.
got?
Anybody else got
Got anything more?
Yes.
I got one I forgot. We had a citizen show up at our meeting, the other night. And her concern was the traffic speed coming through town, which would have been a village issue, not a township issue, but either to lower that a little bit or enforce it, who would we look to do that?
On US 12, that's gonna go to MDOT.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, that's
We
it.
have no control over that
So-
whatsoever. but-
Enforcement, would I go to the sheriff's department and see if they can just put a car
Call the
there?
state police.
I would just call 911
911?
Yeah.
and then they get it to the appropriate.
Okay, all right, I told her I would check and see if I could find out anything on it. I forgot to mention it earlier, so that's.
To adjust, any kind of adjustment would definitely be the MDOT, but enforcement, you could call Central or 911, and they don't have a problem with setting.
I hate to
cars
do
up.
that because I'd be the first one to get a ticket.
First one at your own ticket.
Yeah,
Well, maybe Alan will be the first one to get a ticket up
you know,
there.
we had the speed trap they used back years ago. If we could just get somebody to operate it, deputize them.
Yeah.
There you go.
We could be back in business. We could fund our road projects that
There
way.
you go.
Yeah.
You could get to keep the fees too.
Anything else?
Nope, lot of discussion though.
Wow, you guys traveled too much yesterday.
You guys
I
wore him
don't have
out.
to do that more.
Wore him out.
I wish I would've known this 2 years ago.
Anybody else?
No, I don't have anything. I got enough stuff right here.
I'd say we could stand adjourned then. Thank you.